Hello, today we're going to be talking about the three different pathways that travel through the brain and the spinal cord. So first we have the DCML, which deals with fine touch, vibrations, and proprioception. And next we have the ALS, which deals with pain, temperature, and crude touch. Next we have the corticospinal tract, which deals with axial and limb motor functions. So we're going to start with the dorsal column medial lemniscus pathway, and here we have a cut of the spinal cord. I've labeled the ventral median fissure for orientation clarity. And here we have the dorsal column, which consists of the cuneate and the gracile fasciculus. So the actual pathway starts in the limbs, the upper and lower limbs separately come in, and there's the dorsal root ganglion right there. So the upper limb pathway and the lower limb pathway go through the spinal cord through different sections of the dorsal column. So the upper limb is going through the cuneate fasciculus, and the lower limb is going through the gracile. So they end up coming up through the brainstem and crossing over the midline in something called a decussation. Before they cross over, they go through the cuneate nucleus and the gracile nucleus, respectively. Alright, there they are. Then the pathways travel up through the pons, through the midbrain, and end up in the thalamus, in the ventral posterolateral nucleus. And from there they end up in the postcentral gyrus. Alright, moving on to the spinothalamic pathway. It passes through the dorsal horn, starting from the body, and it doesn't synapse in the dorsal horn, despite what I wrote right there. It doesn't. That'll be gone soon enough. So it moves down and decussates, so it crosses over in the spinal cord at the anterior white commissure, and it then moves up to the brainstem. Alright, again, so it starts in the body in the free nerve endings, there's the dorsal root ganglion, and it moves up to the thalamus. From there, it goes to the postcentral gyrus. And here we've just labeled the different parts of the brainstem, so the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla. So next we're moving on to the corticospinal tract, which starts, I know this is different, starts in the brain, in the precentral gyrus, and moves down through the brainstem. So we've got two different paths, the axial and the limb, and they pass through the internal capsule. It passes down, both of them pass down through the brainstem, and there's one decussation. Only the limbs decussate in something called the decussation of the pyramids, right on that midline down there near the medulla. So above that are the upper motor neurons, and below that in the spinal cord are the lower motor neurons. So I'm just labeling each of them as the anterior corticospinal tract and the lateral corticospinal tract. The ACT, that's the axial one, and the LCT are the limbs. So the ACT crosses in the spinal cord, whereas the LCT crosses in the brainstem, like I just said, with the decussation of the pyramids. So they travel down from the brainstem through the spinal cord. This is the lateral corticospinal tract, going through the ventral horn and down to the muscles. And the anterior corticospinal tract will come through the same ventral horn and end up in the muscles as well. So there's a little bit more clarity here that they're both coming from the brain in this clip. And that's all. Thanks for watching. Yay!